it's me from the editing room. Just wanted to preface this video by saying this was recorded before UNC battled Boston College. I don't think much changes with an overtime win against a team that had one win in conference. This stretch coming up, still massive for UNC. We'll talk about the rest of that in this video, but I wanted to preface it by saying I, at the time of the recording, did not know the result of the Boston College game yet, but when you're watching this, we will know the result of the Boston College game. So just wanted to get that in your heads before we start. Enjoy the video. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Double Bonus Show. I'm your host, Jake Malensic. We're back. Another incredible week of college basketball has been happening so far. We've obviously got more games to go. I'm recording this Friday at about 4 o'clock. No Division I versus Division I games have been played. Youngstown State played earlier, took care of business against the D2 or somebody. I don't even actually look at who they were playing, but they took care of business earlier. Today, though, I'm here to talk about some interesting storylines. I want to start with the storyline that I think has been kind of, I don't know. I think people are overlooking it, and I don't know why. And that's the North Carolina Tar Heels and what's going on in Chapel Hill. This is a team that I don't know where every bracketologist lands on them, but they're a story for me that needs to be talked about in college basketball this year because I just don't know that they're very good. The stats would say that they're okay, and they're going to probably land in a decent spot in some of the metrics and things like that. But the on-the-field play has not been great, and that is a little bit worrisome. Now, they're still 32nd in KenPom, and they're pretty high in the net, and in Torvik, and all of those things. I just looked at KenPom because that's what I had open on my computer. They're 32nd, so by that metric, they're like technically right on the edge of being in or not being in, or however you want to look at it in terms of, you know, some of those teams are going to take AQs, and if KenPom just did the best 68 teams, that's obviously not how it goes, but they would be in. But I don't know that necessarily I look at their resume and I say, yeah, that's a team that's just in the tournament right now. They have a lot of work to do. They haven't really landed yet a marquee victory that kind of screams, okay, we're here, we're going to win, and we're going to continue that momentum. I think people started to think maybe Dayton could have been not a marquee win, but like a nice win, and Dayton's fallen off the map. UCLA is a pretty good win on a neutral floor by 2 back in December. That's something that will hold weight, but that Dayton win doesn't hold any weight anymore. They're losing to George Mason at home in the A10 these days, so I don't know. The problem with North Carolina is that the quality of their losses doesn't hurt them. Kansas, Auburn, Michigan State, Alabama, Florida, Louisville, like Wake Forest they lost to. The quality of those losses does not hurt you. You can continue to survive if you keep holding quality losses as long as you're winning in other places. But North Carolina is dangerously close to not landing any quality wins. And look, it's going to take, I know it sounds stupid, and I know people have a kind of a gripe with quad one and quad one wins and all that stuff. They have one quad one win. They are 1-6 in quad one. Now they're 4-2 in quad two. So what they lack in superior victories, they make up for with no bad losses on the season. They're undefeated in quads 3 and 4, 2 quad 2 losses, and 4 wins there. But like, you can't go into the tournament 1-6 in quad one. It's just not going to happen. I think of my favorite team, the Xavier Musketeers, we're 1-7 in quad one, and we're getting way, way, way less than North Carolina. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that North Carolina and Xavier are similar teams. If Xavier and North Carolina played, North Carolina probably wins, home, away, or neutral. However, when you're comparing two teams and their strength of victories and their strength of, you know, actual quality wins, those are two very similar teams. Look, and again, Xavier is an example because they're my favorite team, so I use them as an example, and I can kind of talk strongly about them because I've watched every game that they've played this year. That's a team that's below them on the bubble and not in the tournament that has a much better win than they do at Marquette. Has far better wins than their second best win. I mean, North Carolina's second best win is SMU at home, which is fine. And SMU's a tournament team, so I shouldn't say that about SMU. Wins against tournament teams are important. They have 2 wins against tournament teams right now, SMU and UCLA. Let's talk about the upcoming schedule for North Carolina, because this is where things get really, really interesting. And honestly, if they don't start, I think they need to go at least 2-2 in their next 4. And I'll add to that by saying they need to go 3-2 in their next 5. Next 5 for North Carolina are tomorrow. Actually, it's probably going to be today. I'm recording this Friday. I think this will go up Saturday before games. So North Carolina today is playing Boston College on Saturday at home. Then they're at Pitt. They're at Duke. They're home for Pitt. And then Monday, the 10th of February, they're at Clemson. That is a 5-game stretch that will define the Tar Heels season. It could be over February 11th or the evening of February 10th when that game is over, in my opinion, if they don't win. Because after that, they have no chances left to really bolster their resume. After that, it's at Syracuse, home for NC State, home for Virginia, at Florida State, which who knows where Florida State's going to be. It's probably not going to be a strong win. Then you're home for Miami, away at Virginia Tech, and then the home game against Duke, which, look, outside of that Duke game, from February 11th on, North Carolina does not have a lot of resume bolstering wins. KenPom's projecting them to go 12-8 in the ACC, which is in a very top-heavy conference with some teams that we don't really know about, and 19-13, which is fine. I think they're fine as long as they survive. Now, if they go anything worse, in my mind, than 3-2 in their next 5, I think things are going to start to get worried. And you have to remember that in their next 5, one of those is Boston College. So if you don't win that game, Boston College at home, then you've got serious problems. So really you have to go 2-2 in the games that aren't Boston College, because you just have to win that one. If you lose to Boston College, then you're probably going to have to, you probably only can survive, you might not be able to survive any other losses. You certainly couldn't survive 2 more. So take care of business at Boston College and then go the next 4 after that. Try and get 2. The biggest 2 that you could get there, obviously, would be at Duke and at Clemson. But again, those are going to be really, really tough wins for a Carolina team that's proven all season that they can't get quality wins. And it's funny because you look at some of their stats and you look at their, some of their metrics and the analytical side of things. They're not a great 3-point shooting team, which is kind of expected coming into the year from this team. Like, I just don't think that they thought they had the horses. RJ Davis can obviously do it. I mean, he's been a good 3-point shooter his whole career. That's not something I don't think that they were really worried about. But it's the rest of this team that's just not making 3-pointers. And that becomes a real issue when they're not doing other things well. And it's funny because they're actually, according to KenPom, they're top 50 in adjusted offense. They're top 32 in adjusted defense. They don't turn the ball over that much. Their turnover percentage is really good. They're making their free throws at a decent clip, 75%. They're 55% shooting 2-pointers this year, which is top 70 in the nation. And again, top 70 doesn't scream at you, but it's not like they're middle of the road. It's not like they're average. They're one of the better teams in the country at doing those things. They're in the top, it's 364. So they're in the top third, the top quarter, probably top third of teams. And yet the wins are not showing up. And again, these are, and they're close losses, right? It's not like we're going to sit here and nitpick, but 3-point loss at Kansas, 3-point loss neutral site to Michigan, a now. It's a 13-point, or Michigan State, excuse me, 13-point loss to Auburn and a 15-point loss to Bama. But a 6-point loss in what KenPom is calling a semi-home game against Florida. That's not. They're close games, and like a 1-point loss to Stanford at home, 1-point loss to Wake Forest on the road, 13-point loss to Louisville on the road. The point that I'm trying to make with North Carolina is it's make or break for the Tar Heels, and I don't know that a lot of people are talking about this for the Tar Heels. It's really, really interesting to me that not a lot of people that I'm seeing, and maybe I'm missing it, maybe I'm not seeing it. I don't see a lot of people as worried about the Tar Heels as I'm worried about the Tar Heels, because I've watched them play. They're fine and they're a decent team, but I've also seen them lose games that they just can't lose to Stanford, and I also see them lose games that I've seen them lose every single big game on the schedule, outside of like 2. And again, one of those was a home game against SMU, and one of those was a 2-point neutral site win over UCLA. And UCLA is a good team. And it relates, by the way, to one quad one win. One. Now, they've got at Pittsburgh's going to be one, at Duke's going to be one, at Clemson is going to be one, Duke at home is going to be one. So they've got at least 4 left. And the metrics still love them. And they're still a talented team. But boy, things are getting a little bit interesting in Chapel Hill. I was going to do more than one topic, but the UNC stuff kind of took over, and I wanted to talk a lot about UNC. So I think this video will just kind of be, should we be worried about the Tar Heels? In my mind, we should be. And it's a little bit concerning that not everybody I don't want to say not everybody's talking about it. And I don't know that we should be worried about the Tar Heels, but the point of this and the point of this talking point was the Tar Heels have 5-game stretch now that is make or break for their season. Right now, they're probably in. Everybody seems to say they're in. The metrics seem to believe that they're in, but it's going to be really close. This 5-game stretch will get them in or keep them out of the tournament. There is no ifs, ands, or buts in my mind that this is the most important 5-game stretch for UNC the whole season. If they can pick off a Pitt or a Clemson or a Duke on the road, they're going to make, actually, I think the Duke game is on the road. So if they can pick one of those 3 teams off on the road, you start to get a little bit more confidence maybe about where this UNC team is heading this season. But murky waters right now in Chapel Hill. And I wanted to remind people that this is a huge stretch for UNC. So if you're a Tar Heel fan, lock in some big games. We got a lot of work to do. Lock in. Y'all got a lot of work to do, but Hubert Davis is a good coach. You've got one of the best players in the whole conference on your roster in RJ Davis. And look, you've got to start winning now or it's not going to happen. And by the way, I just saw it. I saw a stat the other day about Kate Tyson. Not good. Not a good transfer. That's a really bad, another really bad thing for UNC that's happened. That's probably a part of the reason why they're not playing well, but it all goes to it. Anyways, tough stretch for the Tar Heels. Excited to see if they can turn it around. Thank you for listening to the Double Bonus Show. Have a great rest of your day. Make sure you hit like and subscribe and comment your thoughts about what we talked about today. Have a good one.